Faceless channels aren't failing because they're bad. They're failing because too many people refuse to quit. There's a term for a certain type of retail trader: bag holders. A bag holder is someone who buys into hype at the peak, watches the asset collapse, and then refuses to sell, hoping for an unlikely recovery that never comes. They're emotionally invested, and they stay in denial. This is the same pattern most faceless YouTube channels fall into. People buy into the hype. Easy money, 10,000 a month. Promises pushed everywhere on social media. Their channels show no real signs of growth, but they keep uploading anyway. Not because it's working, but because they believe eventually it will. There are creators who push through and come out on top of their niche. But for most, the grind just keeps going. The result is a growing mass of creators, much like bag holders in the stock market. That's what continues to add to YouTube's saturation day by day. Competition is brutal for faceless channels. Niche such as gaming, entertainment, vlogs, storytelling. Now, not all faceless niches are equally challenging. From here on, let's talk about the best and worst faceless niches going into 2026. I'll use Faceless AI music as the main example, so I don't have to break down every niche. This is one of the fastest growing and crowded spaces right now. And to be clear, this depends heavily on the sub-niche. Now, the ones you want to avoid are the ones that compete directly with real artists. Not because of the artists themselves, but because of dozens, sometimes hundreds of channels copying them, even deep-faking their identity to generate massive views. These niches don't fail because the content is necessarily bad. They fail because they're competing with real artists and hundreds of carbon copy channels at the same time. From the algorithm's perspective, there's zero incentive to pick you when it already has endless alternatives. So what actually works in AI music? Visual-first content. AI visuals with background music is a much safer approach because the focus isn't the music, it's the atmosphere. This works best on niches that barely exist or don't exist at all. Other viable niches include Gothic metal, Nordic and Scandinavian styles, fantasy music, and even certain forms of J-pop. Now, you might think rock is already stacked with famous artists, but this channel does hard rock with female vocals. Now tell me, how many famous rock bands you can name with a female lead singer? Yeah, not many. And that essentially concludes the point. For any other niche, the same logic applies. Avoid overcrowded spaces and focus on areas that aren't already set up for instant failure.